It's fascinating. I find it fascinating because I'm constantly attacked by the alt-right online as being this whim, as not realizing the importance of race or whatever. Constantly berated as some kind of lefty by the alt-right. And then the left attacks me as a racist and a fascist. And actually, after this Exeter event, I don't know if you know about the Exeter event that happened. Here they go. Where some people tried to silence me.
Hey everyone, so I know it's been said before, but it cannot be said enough. These Antifa characters are as fascistic as they come. Here they are interrupting Yaron Brook, a staunch libertarian, and Sargon of Akkad, and they're screaming their empty slogans of fascism at them. This is how you destroy a movement, and this is how you marginalize yourself. The more incoherent you become, the more you become a subject of mockery and ridicule, and this is exactly what Antifa has done to itself. They're calling Yaron Brook a fascist, which is as incoherent as it gets. So what is a fascist? Well, there are a few characteristics that you will find in a fascist, namely ultranationalism, and I'm talking about hardcore nationalism here, the type of nationalism that calls for the destruction and or annexation of other countries for simply being too feeble in their presence. Now, as far back as I can remember, Yaron Brook has been critical of a multitude of countries for behaving this way, including the United States. So where is the fascism and where is the ultranationalism there? Where is the blind allegiance to a country or a dear leader that Yaron Brook expresses? I must have missed it. What's another characteristic you will inevitably find in a fascist? Simply put, violence and coercion, and not only that, an emphatic and enthusiastic use of violence and coercion for political means. Now, for anyone who has ever listened to Yaron Brook, what is a word he uses to dig into national leaders? The word is coercion. In fact, he uses it so much it becomes almost funny. It's certainly his favorite word to use against people with political power. Now, what sincere fascist has ever existed that complained about their leaders and accused them of using violence and coercive tactics? On what planet does this make any sense? These Antifa people are perhaps the most politically, historically, and philosophically defunct people I've ever heard. Although I've never really heard them say all that much, considering they just scream in order to stifle a message someone is trying to give to an audience, which leads me to my next point. These people only do this because they have no intellectual ground to stand on. Their tactics make it painfully obvious that they are completely incapable of engaging in any meaningful discussion. I am sure they know full well that on any fair debate stage, Yaron Brook would be able to tear them to shreds, so they have to resort to screaming and drowning out reasonable voices so they don't have to say anything that is well thought out, yet they can still leave thinking that they won the day. In fact, it was funny to hear Yaron Brook say something along the lines of the alt-right always referring to him as some leftist liberal, while the left always calls him a racist and a fascist, and that they constantly try to silence him. And immediately the sirens start blaring and these little children start running in, screaming over everyone so nothing can be heard. It was like a beautiful clockwork that portrayed exactly what Yaron Brook had just described. It is truly one of the saddest displays of stupidity that the human species has to offer. Okay, so a challenge to any Antifa member that might see this video. Not that they would ever search for anything like this, and not that they would ever expose themselves to any different viewpoint, but I'm open for them to prove me wrong on that. So a challenge to any Antifa member. Give me a list of 5 reasons Yaron Brook is a fascist. And I don't mean giving me a small quote that is likely taken out of context. I mean giving me an analysis on 5 things he supports that is fascistic by its very nature. nature. If you are going to run into a room like you did here and scream and yell like a banshee, you better be able to back up all that noise. Otherwise, you will forever be regarded as mere adult children, which is what you are now. So either make a video and put the link in my comments or just type it up and put it in my comments. It's up to you, but I want to hear how he is a fascist. I will be waiting. Thank you, and that's all.